writing letters to people. I don't know, somewhere down along the line, I started publishing these letters and realizing that that's what I need to do. And then someone said to me, "Oh, did you get this idea after you had a baby? Did you get this idea from Anne Lamott?" And I said, "No, I usually just use the shitty first drafts from Lamont." And I went back and read the last chapter of her book, which is called Letters. It's only like 3 pages long. But more or less it says that when you can't write, more or less you're too preoccupied or perfectionist. No one knows that about me. Just kidding. So you start writing letters instead, which I didn't really even realize I was doing when I was pregnant after my daughter was born. And so I have like hundreds, literally now, pages of letters within maybe a year and a half. And they're all very raw and they're not edited. But I'm going to read 2 the kind of shorter letters that I've written. And the first one is to my cousin, who's the godmother of my daughter, and then who lost her mother, and then to my own mother. And like I said, none of these are edited, but this is what I have so far. And this one is called, and the whole book that I'm creating is called Eulogies for the Living. So I also came across the idea that we write eulogies after people are dead, and maybe we should write them when they're alive. And so many people have asked me to write their eulogies, and I have about 30 or 40 that I've written from people who've asked me to write them for them, so they can hear their eulogy before they die. But I have 2. The first one's called I'll Like You for Always. And this is for Hannah. And this is the godmother of my daughter and my cousin. Like a wave where there is no ocean, a swell where there is no tide, like a raindrop when there is not a cloud in the sky, grief drowns you like a desert and insatiable sorrow, chews you up and spits you out. Grief swallows everything but itself, and you are left with nothing but the pain you carry, an ache which no pleasure can suspend. This is the weight of death, the current which pulls you always to the center of her world. And in this world, like loofing where there are no sails, you feather into the wind head on, flooded in the driest rain. For though you are looked after, you are alone. In time you will realize the truth no child need ever bear. Though a single red clover appears amid cracks of splitting asphalt, life isn't always stronger than death. You will accept that your mother has died, that the sky swallowed her up at her most beautiful, that she was stolen from you when you needed her the most. Overcome with grief, you will at times abate. You will want to give up, but you won't. You, sweet Hannah, keeper of stars, godmother to Alice, will rave on. You will learn to appreciate the pain, admire its persistence, which despite being at times unsufferable, will lead you home. To abandon it would to abandon her, for grief is a gatekeeper to the heavens. And so you will carry it always, like your mother herself, gently in the palm of your hand, steady in the center of your world. You will never put it down, never abandon it. For just as the birds make space for snow to fall, so too they make space for you, so you might find her, hidden among the stars, journey to heaven, to your mother in the sky. Like the lilacs she so admired, her life was as remarkable as it was ordinary. She loved wolves and water, said she was born of the moon. She was a survivor, a single mother, a college graduate. She beat a brain aneurysm, endured a long battle with depression, and never gave up, not on anything. She was a fighter. She didn't need anyone to take care of her. But sometimes I wish she had. She was, after all, the one who took care of us. From the time I was a little girl, she protected me. She gave me a safe place to go when I was scared or sad, overwhelmed with all the devastation. She nurtured me, loved me like a daughter. And when my mother worked the night shift and my father was preoccupied with his writing, she would ask if I wanted to have a sleepover, even though she only lived upstairs. And later, when I was tired and disillusioned, and I had grown discouraged and complacent, she reminded me how fragile life is, how fortunate I was to have a strong mind and a loving family, and so I held on. It's been hard without her. Holding on, I mean. I guess I didn't realize how important she was, how much I needed her. I've always struggled to find meaning in my life, and even after Alice was born, after I experienced the greatest joy I've ever known, I still felt sad. I didn't feel my life mattered, that I was incapable of accomplishing anything, of contributing something meaningful to the world. It wasn't until I thought of you, your face buried in your chest, when I remembered you standing there, giving her life back with your words, that I realized I had no choice but to fight. Amid tears, you read us the card she wrote you when you left for college all those years ago. It said, "The other mothers are ready, but I'm not. Now I'm the one who's not ready," you said. Your face flushed with grief. It's a thought I can't bear remember. Every piece of your broken heart swept away, your innocence lifted by the falling tide. And ever since that day, I've watched you mourn. I have seen you collapse in agony, witness what I'm sure is the greatest of all sorrows, the debilitating pain of losing a mother. And because of this, I'm confronted with the image of my own daughter, misshapen with pain, the image of her grieving, an image which haunts me. In death, she gave me life. She is a survivor, but my father will always carry the burden of not having saved her, for having not protected his little sister, shielded her from the insecurity of doubt which plagued her in her life, and from death which so cruelly stole her from us. In death, as in life, she is my friend, my aunt, guardian of light, keeper of darkness. She is your mother, and sometimes she is mine. She is all the birds in all the skies, the tallest trees and the widest waters. And in honor of her memory, we promise to take care of you, the daughter she left behind. Preserve the life she planned for you, a life buzzing with imagination, filled with wild, vivid dreams. Her death was unfair, and for this we will all feel cheated, always. I imagine sometimes you feel the grief will swallow you too, but like the soles of your feet, you can't always see what supports you. And like a whisper for which there is no reply, she is with you. Remember this when grief comes knocking at your door. You are not alone. Find the North Star and let it guide you. Lean into the pain, so you might feel her hand when she is far from your body. Like the flooded shores of Westerly, for my mother. I am in line at the bank when I realized it wasn't the hum of the fire that kept us warm. It was the sound of tree branches breaking, bark sweeping freshly fallen snow. The storm was as violent as it was stunning, our home blanketed in ice. For weeks we were paralyzed, too prideful to ask for help, too poor to claim what was ours. The soft light of setting sun, the moon rising above the water. It was 40 degrees in the loft above my room the night I learned the truth about disfigurement, that it follows you everywhere. You were washing dishes when it happened. You were always washing dishes. I was 5 years old, standing in the kitchen of our home in Maine, standing before you like a frightened soldier, the tip of my finger buried in the palm of my hand. You wrapped what was left of my severed finger in a wet cloth, which you pressed against your chest. When I look at this finger, I see disfigurement. It defines me in some way. It reminds me I was born without the scars I've acquired. It reminds me that I've lived outside the walls of your body. You still have piano fingers, you say, when it rains, when it pours so hard my scars ache. It's June and the well has been dry for weeks. You fill milk jugs with rainwater, which you heat in trash bags to make a makeshift shower. At night, you tiptoe through the grass and wash your hair by the light of the moon. Just to feel closer to me, the cracks in your fingers splitting open, widening among the summer sky. In Maine, we prepare for winter with our bare hands, the kind you had after years of hauling water. You always carried the buckets in your left hand. They were heavy, and you had a bad hip. You slipped on the ice when you were pregnant with me, when my brother was 3 and always running away. We will sell the sheep when your hands are tired. They are cracked now. They don't look the same. They look like they've been washing the dishes for 50 years, and it's always December. There will come a time when you are too weak to keep the sheep, to bring them their water. The white bucket's too heavy to carry. The cracks in your hand will bleed. They will lose their grip on the bucket. When you hold my hand, you squeeze my fingers into the indents of your thumb, like you want me to know you're older now, that you will die. I pinch your cracked thumb to make sure you can still feel me. I run my index finger along your palm as if to say, I remember when your hands were soft and smooth, as if to say, I'm sorry, I'm still so young. You are in Nicaragua now, and your hands hold the plates of rice and beans you feed your patients. I don't want you to get old. I don't want the disfigurement. I don't want the pain. I want Maine, New Hampshire, the way Donald Hall had Jane Kuhn just before they flew to Minneapolis. I want my mother. I want the rain to come without the pain, so we don't have to cry so hard, like when my father lost June Jordan to cancer. When the rain has come and the well is full, we peel snails off the dock in Cundy's Harbor and toss them into the water. Leaning back, you blink salt water from your eyelashes. Docks aren't meant for land, you say. When I was a child, I thought having 5 fingers meant everything. I cried when I saw a boat being removed from its mooring. Now, as the light of the setting sun floods the halls of St. Patrick's Cathedral, casting shadows on stained glass images of the Virgin Mother, Queen of Heaven, I am reminded of you. How disfigurement was always an impossibility for you. How you held my finger in your hand, pressed it against my face, saying, this is my favorite part of your body. Saying, like the flooded shores of Westerly, do not disappear amid the fog of the cold, green sea. Imagine yourself at the bottom of the ocean, where there is no snow, nor the darkness of winter, and the waves are as warm as the summer sky.